Alright, let's get a new 30-minute game going. Ugh, black pieces again. This is feeling like a trend. Um, C4. I don't know what's going on here. Um, we'll play sort of a Caro-Can, I suspect. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Uh, takes, maybe a check here. I feel like is something that this person might like. Okay, so let's play this thoughtfully, being aware of queen to a4 check. Um, do I want to get my light squared bishop out yet? Let's see, why not? I think I will play knight to c6 sort of preemptively. And then just develop my light squared bishop out, e6. And then our opponent is not putting a lot of pressure on our position, which is nice. So I think we'll have time, yeah, moves like h3, a3. We don't have too much to worry about, so I think we can just get our pieces out without too much of a hassle. Knight to d6, or bishop to d6, knight to e7, castled. Yeah, we'll get everything out. This is feeling good. And then once we're castled, we can start to make some decisions about how do we want to proceed. Knight protecting this knight, so we have two defenders. It's just nice. It's just a nice setup. Could, if they're going to try to castle kingside, could arrange that battery. This feels, oh yeah, they've got their dark square bishop sort of hemmed in. And their development doesn't seem to be amazing. Ooh, knight take, or bishop takes. So you can recapture with the knight or the pawn. I do like the idea of like recapturing with the pawn, eventually pushing c5 and getting our knight over here. Ooh, maybe we're getting our queen out to b6. Yeah, let's just a nice Caro-Can defensive structure. I like this a lot. Okay, so queen to b6 is less appealing now. Queen to b6 is less appealing now. Now that they've pushed b4. You do like a4. Doesn't look quite as good, does it? We got to start making some decisions now. We're sort of out of traditional opening ideas. Move our rook to a semi-open file. Yeah, let's do that. If our opponent isn't going to bother castling, we can just sort of push pieces up the queen side. See what happens there. Where are they going with this? Maybe out here? We have our knight to defend. Cool. Let's push a4 and see what happens. a5, not a4. Feeling good about this. I think we're going to start winning some pawns. Moving their knight back. So we have like takes, or takes, and they have like an outpost for their bishop. I guess then we could capture Would that get us up a pawn? So, pawn trade. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. So I think we're the winner in that exchange. Seems good to me. That puts us up a pawn. As we have seen in past games, not necessarily a guaranteed indicator of success. Okay, now they castle. We could take their pawn, or their bishop. I don't mind the idea of sort of falling back to our defensive structure, finding a way to deal with this knight, and then maybe a quick checkmate. Because they're not putting any pressure on our king's side. I think we saw yesterday that my idea of like bishop back to c7 and then queen up to d6 was a substantial blunder in the situation where we are not castled, and then white potentially has ideas to attack our king on e8 where it starts. But now that we're castled, let's fall back and prepare an attack. We have these open A and B files. They're a little worrisome. I think this could be an avenue for attack. For white. So we should keep an eye on that. I think we still have the option to push this, but let's not worry about that for now. Maybe we push our bishop up to e4 and just trade off this knight. Actually, like, that looks really nice, because their queen can't recapture because they put their knight in the way. So if we sort of tear open their kingside defensive structure. Yeah. I like this idea. Maybe get our rook out to e8 to defend this knight, which is sort of loosely defended. Whatever piece lands here, sometimes it's a knight, sometimes it's the dark squared bishop. I often have a hard time defending, so I want to get it out if I can. So we can do like that, and then knight comes out to e5, which I like a lot. Our opponent, I think understandably, having a hard time figuring out what to do next. They're sort of a little cramped. Not the end of the world. What would I do if I was in this position? Knight. Can we move this knight? Okay, so knight to h2. So if we do this right now, we get a free knight. And we get to develop our queen, even if they move their knight out of the way. If they come out here, we can trade our light squared bishop. Yeah, let's do that. Queen to c7, threatening to pick up their knight. Okay, and they play f4. Okay, so this is sort of an imposing defensive structure. How can we crack our way in there? You get a rook up here. We can deal with their dark squared bishop. I like that idea. And if we get rid of this pawn, these two pawns, I think, become targets. Well, I guess this knight is defending both of them. Only defend one at a time. So let's give that a shot. So what if we... In what order should we play this? I think bishop out. How do we do this? Bishop out. Takes... Well, then if their queen recaptures, the queen has to recapture. Maybe we need a little more firepower down the B file. So what if we double our rooks on the B file? And then this works out really well. It is honestly just like the beginnings of an attack. They don't have a light squared bishop, so I feel pretty comfortable moving my rook onto like b7 or b5. B5 runs into this knight. So what if we just, yeah, rook to b7, sort of a nice quiet developing move. We'll double our rooks on an open file. Maybe I'll play h6 just to avoid back rank mate ideas, which are always unpleasant. And they might want to play, okay. Where are you going? This, we have a defender. I don't want to recapture with this e6 pawn. I want to avoid doing something like that because that ruins my really nice pawn structure here. So I'm going to leave this knight here. I'm going to play h6 because I think as rooks are sort of like departing this back rank, we're opening up a vulnerability in our position, especially since there's like two open files here. I just want to be careful about that. Play thoughtfully, not too aggressively. They do recapture. If they do capture like this, we do get our knight as an attacker on this e3 pawn, which I have decided is a very juicy target right now. Let's see what our opponent comes up with. What could they do? What could they do? And what else could we do? So right now, I think e3 is a nice target. And it's sort of what I'm marshaling my pieces to attack right now. Their king, since they pushed f4, is vulnerable. Queen to e2. Connect their rooks. Maybe... I don't know, that doesn't do anything. That does open up this sort of attack file for the queen. I don't think that does anything for them. So I think we proceed with our plan. Well, it adds another defender to the e3 pawn, which now has two defenders. So maybe we go ahead and... Do we want to trade our dark square bishops? My dark square bishop is really good because all of my pawns are on... Most of my pawns are on like light squares. I just like this a lot, but their pawns are on dark squares, so it makes it harder to sort of get into their position. Rook up pins the bishop to the queen. The queen is lightly defended. Let's go ahead and double our rooks, just to sort of prepare for that attack. It's nice to have doubled rooks. We're in an open file. Their rooks are not doubled. If they do something like this, then we get the rook for free, or we take, and then we check their king and pick up a rook. So I think the pressure is mounting on our opponent's position, which I like a lot. Okay, bishop to c3. Not certain. Oh, they're sort of guarding this square, which is a good idea. Proceed with our plan to trade off the bishops. Trade off the bishops. Or let's see. So if they take, we take with the rook. And then what do we do from there? We have an advanced rook. We also have this diagonal open that could be potentially dangerous. Let's, yeah, I think get a dark squared bishop out. I would be sad to say goodbye to it. but I think it is time to trade bishops and hopefully develop our attack a little bit further. Our opponent not making any moves on our position. So I think we can safely do this. So where might they go? Okay, so their take, we recapture. Hopefully they're not seeing something that I've missed. Our opponent could be clever and wise, so we have to play thoughtful, careful chess, especially as we're starting to advance into their position. Knight comes out to f3. This is sort of scary. Big stronghold for the knight there. That's not a problem. Meaningless bishop sacrifice on my radar just to get our knight out to e5, which is a nice square for the knight. They would probably just take, and we would ruin our pawn structure. I don't love that. Now, so how do we proceed with this attack? We're targeting the e3 pawn. And then takes, and then we don't have any way to sort of reinforce it. We could do like up and over. It's gonna take forever. And then our rook is hanging. If we go like up and over 1, then our rook is gonna be hanging on c3 for a hot sec, which I don't love. Can't really reinforce that square, or at least I don't see an easy way to do it. What if we move our rook up and then, oh, there we go. That's a move. And then we skewer their queen and their rook. Love that. Love that for us. My idea. Well, shucks. Okay, so we recapture with the knight, so we don't ruin our nice pawn structure. This adds another attacker. I think our opponent, that was probably a big mistake. Unless they have something that they're trying to cook up. I think we have a very nice attack now on the e3 pawn, and they don't have a lot of great options for reinforcing it. Knight comes out to e5. That's a great spot for the knight. Are they threatening anything? Loses the knight, loses the knight, loses the knight, loses the knight, loses the knight. I don't think those squares really threaten anything. It's sort of a tough place for the knight to be, so we'll just have to be wary of this as we move forward. Let's see. So do we take this pawn with the knight or the rook? The rook threatens the queen, which I think is great. The knight threatens the rook, which I don't think is probably just going to move out of the way. And then do we have anything we can do with the knight afterwards? So if the knight comes here, rook moves, let's say, like reinforces the queen or something. We could always just come back. If we move here, is that like forkable? Yeah, if they plop their knight down here, they would fork. Let's capture with the knight, just to be prudent. I don't like any attacks that they might have with this super advanced knight. But now we have an opportunity to clear out these pawns. How are we going to do that? We could advance here. Feels like a decent start. I don't think our defense... Okay, yeah, so this comes out. There we go. So now they've got 2 attackers on our weak c5 pawn, c6 pawn, excuse me. Move our knight in the way, get it out of safety, and get it protected by our d5 pawn. That sort of intervenes or like gets in the way of our idea to start cleaning out these additional pawns with the rook. But it's a nice, safe move. And if we're defending with just like much higher value pieces, which I don't want to do. I was going to say we could attack their queen, but they just take our knight. This is a monster, or like a potentially like really bad attack for our opponent. So out, takes, and then we like move our knight out of the way for a discovered check. Let's file that away, because this diagonal is juicy and I think getting ready to fall. But I think for now we'll just make our knight fall back to c4, getting in the way of this attack. Okay, so they capture. Toodaloo to our pawn structure. How sad. Maybe they'll push and we can reinforce. Oh no, that's hanging. Oh, I didn't see that. Shucks. Okay, well, we'll have to be careful here. I think we can move our rook back. The rook is not hanging, it's protected by the queen. They probably want to move their queen out like this, and then start nabbing pieces. So I think if we... Well, hey, actually, that's check. Do it... Oops. So check. We do a trade. Move out of the way. That's check. So that exchange wins us a pawn. Trades a rook off the board. We're up 2 pawns. Let's do that. Let's make the position a little bit less dangerous. Their king is much more exposed than ours. We have this nice hidey hole. They have shattered defenses. So I'm expecting a recapture. We'll recapture. If they move anything in front, they just lose that piece. Oh, look at that. Just kidding. They don't lose that piece. So what can we do? Now this rook is pinned. I think we just need to take something. We'll probably take. Well, I thought it was a neat idea. Now queen here wins the pawn and attacks the rook. And then will allow us, yeah. Well, that leaves this pawn hanging. So takes. And then, I don't know, maybe they have an attack in our position? This is check, though. Let's move forward with that. Pick up another pawn, and then we'll just have to be very careful with our king safety. Expecting they pick up the free pawn, we pick up the free pawn. Where will they move? We can't move anywhere where we can fork their rook. No. I guess if they do take, we have this check. and then they lose a piece. Oh yeah, let's do that. Because we have our queen sort of staring down their escape hatch. Wonderful. So if they take, we check, and that's game over, I think. Oh, how very exciting. Oh boy, I hope they pick up that free pawn. That would be very exciting. And if they don't, we're still sort of staring down their rook. Let's see what our opponent comes up with. What's a good move for our opponent? Um, Nowhere for the king to go. This is the only square the king can move to, because we have this very threatening attack here. They could offer a queen trade, I think might be in their favor, just for the amount of, like, threat that we're generating here. Uh, does pushing their pawn forward do anything? Oh, no, I think it just loses the pawn. Okay, that's a good move. We pick up their free pawn, so if we pick this up, then I think they're sort of threatening an attack. I don't think they have checkmate, but whatever it is, we'll have an extra move to figure it out. Because we are taking this pawn with tempo. So now we're up 3 pawns. This was very similar to the situation yesterday, where we were up a ton of pawns, and then we still failed to convert that advantage into a victory. So I spent a little bit of time studying rook, king, pawn in games, where one side like has an extra pawn and the other side doesn't. And we'll just need to be cautious. So I know a little bit about how those work. As I understand it, the F, E, and C pawns are especially valuable because our opponent would need to know something called the Philidor defense in order to prevent these from being promoted if we like trade off our queens and just have kings and rooks on the table. But I think for now, like, what if we just push, get our rook behind our passed pawn, and then push it up the board? So I don't think they can do anything to like assault our position. So we'll do that. This is dangerous. I think if that happens, gosh, I don't know. Mm, I would love to trade queens, actually. They come down here, we can come down here to defend our rook, and then maybe kick the queen out with something like, oh no, that loses the pawn. Defend our rook, which is hanging. Now we're on the back rank. So we have a protected passer. Do we just push it up the board? Are they gonna... So they're gonna try to take it or something. They move here, they take it. They move here, then they win the pawn in the exchange. So what if we add a defender to our pawn, and then threaten their queen? No, that doesn't work. The tough position. We do have like 2 separate pawns that we could advance. So what if we just... Oh my god. Oh no. Okay, that's not good. It's a better square to move to. Corner of the board. I guess moving to h7 invites this check. Whereas here, I think we are well protected. Boy, oh boy. I missed that. They're gonna be very. I gotta be more careful. Um, is there a way that we can offer a queen trade? And then, yeah, do like a queen trade, and then we can just push this pawn up the board. Still one pawn up. It's on the C file, so it's a nice protected passer. Queen trade, get our king out, and sort of escort this pawn up the board. Nope. They didn't go for it. Once again, asking you for a queen trade. Clearly, I need to continue studying endgames. This is 2 days in a row of being several pawns up and then blundering them away. It's no good. No good at all. I'm going to move their queen out of the way. We'll be able to advance our pawn a little bit further. Hmm. In our opponent's case, I think for the Philidor defense, they want to defend on the third rank. I think the reason for that is once the pawn advances to that rank, they can sort of drop the rook to the back and start delivering like unlimited checks to us. Advance our pawn a little bit further. Got us pinned here, so we have to be very careful. Okay. So perhaps offering a rook trade that wins a pawn. Well, no, so they take, we take. I think we want to encourage this, actually. Maybe they don't know that our queen is uh, a defender on this pawn. Nope. Okay. Oh my gosh. And that's really bad for us. Okay. And then maybe, no, that doesn't do it. Oh man, this is tough. They've got a strong attack on our position. Can we do something like check their king? Threatening to take our rook. So I think if we back out. So this is really bad because that loses our queen to their rook. So I think if we go here, we maintain defense of the pawn, and then we can get our queen out and just like drive home an attack. We're running out of time. I've got 11 minutes to figure this out. So we move out here to maintain defense of this pawn. Yeah. If they take, it's a queen trade, which I sort of wanted all along. Check, and then where do they go? They need to move up, I think. Or they move their queen in the way, and that's another way to do a queen trade. Okay. Tight position. Two, like if we can sneak our queen out here first. I mean, that's just inviting an attack. king is in a very fraught position here. Can we do anything else with this check once they move out of the way? We could get in front of the pawn, but no, we need this rook to... Oh, very exciting. So they're, I guess, not inviting a check here. Still need this. Okay, so we need this rook defending this pawn. It would be, I think, dangerous to get our queen out, or get our king out as like an active defender. But I think this is kind of nice. Yep. That unpin, and then maybe we move up one to add a defender to this pawn and to the rook. Ugh. I'm sure there's like a theoretically best way I could be playing this. I need to really understand. Okay, our rook is undefended. Pin to the king. Proceed with our plan. Add a defender. I wonder... Yeah, so up. If they take, we take. Up. If they take, we take. And then I think we have escape squares, yeah. So let's up. Probably come out here. Suddenly we have a very exposed king, and our opponent seems to be doing a-okay. Gotta be aware of those diagonals. God, this is brutal. Get our queen out to here. We hit their rook, but it's defended by the queen. We threaten a check. We get our queen out to here. Potentially pinned to the king if the rook gets over here. But we are threatening check here. But I don't think we can do anything with that check. Maybe like out. All right. What do they got? So I think maybe they see like this, like a rook trade, but I think we take back with the rook. What do they got? I don't think they have anything. I think we're just up a rook. Our opponent is thinking hard. I'm not going to accept the chat. Well, I'm curious. Our opponent sent me a thumbs up in chat. Check. I think I move up. Our opponent resigns. One blunder. Whew. Very exciting game. Alright. Well, I didn't get a chance to practice any of the in-game activities that I rehearsed yesterday. But this looks like a pretty good... Yeah, we held our own pretty well. Let's figure out where this blunder was. I think we had a pretty strong opening. Just sort of our weird Caro-Can defense. I don't know how to react to... What was this? The English opening, c4. I should read up on that. Nice, decent development. Nothing too wild. Let's see. Yes, I think this was a mistake for our opponent, capturing this bishop that allowed us to develop our knight to a really juicy square. Oh, this is... I missed a better way to win a material through a tactic. Let's take a gander at that. So how does this work? Uh... Oh, G3. So forking their queen and their rook. That's pretty cool. I missed forkable squares. Queen to f2, knight takes f1, rook takes f1. Yeah, that would have been substantial, and then follow up with like, oh, brutal. Okay, something to look out for. Yeah, the queen and the rook were certainly unforkable squares. All right, let's keep looking. That was a great defensive resource. Here's a blunder coming up, pushing the pawn. So I think, yeah, here offering the queen trade was the better move. Oh, I gave up a pawn? Oh, oh, geez. Oh, yeah, I did miss this during the game. This queen coming down to b7 super threatens our f7 pawn. Um, Fortunately, escaped that without giving up checkmate. Big move, and then rook takes h5, huge blunder. Yeah, just giving up the rook. Ooh, very exciting endgame. I feel that I escaped very luckily, and I will need to continue to work on my endgames. All right, I think that's all for me for today. See you tomorrow.